Hi guys, and welcome back to The Hype, where minds collide and ideas amplify. I'm your host Myrna, and I'm so happy to be here today, coming with you from the heart of Nishan. So much Confucius energy around me, and I'm joined today with three wonderful guests. I'm gonna let them say hello to you in a moment. JJ, let's start with you.
Hello. Hey everyone. I'm JJ Yosh. I am from the States. I live in Colorado. I'm an adventure filmmaker, love nature. I have an adventure cat that sadly isn't here with me today. But he's here in spirit, and I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. Welcome, JJ. Hi, Landon. Can you say hello?
Hi, I'm Landon. I'm also an adventure filmmaker specializing in sports like paragliding and rock climbing, and I'm also very happy to be here. I'm from Colorado, just like JJ, and it's a pleasure to have me here.
Awesome. Welcome. Hello to our last guest over there.
Hi Myrna, and hi everyone. This is Wang Tao. I'm from CGTN Digital. Very nice to meet you guys all.
Awesome. So welcome, guys. JJ said hello. He had a cat. Can we say hello to your cat right now?
Okay. Hello to my cat, Simon. Where are you?
We miss Simon. I feel like he's watching your videos. He goes with you on lots of adventures, right?
Of course, yeah. He's like my little soul buddy that travels with me everywhere, except here, of course.
You should bring him next time.
I know, right? Yeah.
We should totally bring him. I think he'll be like one of our first pets on the show, right? Yeah. We should totally bring him. Okay, so guys, welcome to Nishan. Welcome to Confucius. We are highlighting world civilizations and tackling questions from 2025, but we might find their wisdom back 2,500 years ago. So starting with the journey to Nishan, how has the journey been in Chifu the past few days?
Well, the journey itself was very long to get here, but very rewarding, and completely not what I was expecting. The heat has been not what I'm used to, but getting here now and just kind of feeling the presence, and it's been, I'd like to say, transformative.
Awesome, awesome. What about Landon?
This is my first time here, so it's my first experience of Chinese culture, and especially Chinese cuisine. And it's been amazing. The journey, as JJ said, was pretty long, but it was an amazing experience to actually arrive here and to experience this culture for the first time.
Oh, that's awesome. You said Chinese cuisine. The food here in Shandong is considered Lu cuisine, right?
Cuisine, yeah,
I think it tends to be lots of flavor, lots of carbs. Did you guys feel like the food was really like different than the Chinese food you had in the US?
Oh, the food in the U.S., like Chinese food, is completely different. We're used to Panda Express, so
orange chicken, sesame chicken.
Yeah. That's not Chinese food.
No, it's not.
Orange chicken is good though.
Oh, so
we
good.
love orange chicken.
My favorite.
All right, so we have a quote from Confucius that says, 有朋自远方来. Jackson, as an analysis of this quote, can you tell us the meaning of it to Landon and JJ?
It means like you guys are from far away, like come here, and also Shandong is like very famous because of warm hospitality. I hope you guys feel the warm welcome that Shandong gave to you guys. And also this is a quote from Confucius as well. So Confucius like back born like 2000, this philosophy is actually come from thousands of years ago.
2,500 years ago.
Already have this philosophy that welcome you guys come to different places and enjoy those different cultures. I hope you guys feel the hospitality that Shandong give to you guys and Confucius give to you guys.
Well, we definitely feel the warmth for sure of the hospitality. It's super hot here, and they serve hot water even to make it even more so. But out of all seriousness, like people have been so nice to us. Don't you think?
I'd agree. We've been to a lot of places this year, and it's been a very big mix of hospitality when sometimes, being in Morocco, if you get to Marrakesh, it's a very different culture. It's very difficult to get around because people are, while they might be appearing to be hospitable, they're really trying to get this or that or trying to manipulate you. And being here, it's a beautiful breath of fresh air. Being able to not be hassled as you walk down the street. Everyone is very in their own world, you could say, and it makes me feel like I'm able to be safe here, and it makes me feel very at home.
That's wonderful. It is exactly what Confucius said, which is how nice it is to have friends coming from afar. So as usual here in China, with all the touristic spots in all the cities, they were always welcoming new guests to visit different places of China. Have you guys visited different cities before, or is it just Shandong, Chifu?
So I personally have been to China a couple times before, and so I've seen the countryside, cities, and got a little mixture of everything. I'd say being here has been the most diverse so far, and just in terms of just the cultural immersion, because I really feel like I am in the heart of China right now. Whereas before I felt like I was more in a Western a version of it.
When you say Western version, like, where are you referring to?
I think what I mean by Westerners, like more, it has more of the places that I'm kind of used to in the States, like more of the franchise.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Whereas here, you
It's
don't
authentic.
see, it's very authentic, very traditional.
It is, I think, because we're in the hometown of Confucius, and as the core question of our talk today, which is, can wisdom from 2,500 plus years ago impact or answer questions of the world right now in 2025? So stay tuned. All right, so let's start with our first topic today, which is Confucius once said, 己所不欲，勿施于人, which is do not impose on others what you do not wish upon to yourself. So as we are entering this world right now, you can have conversations with people face to face, you can have conversations with people online. It is a global dialogue happening. It's very easy to talk to someone from another country literally with a click of a button. So when we say do not impose on others what you do not wish upon yourself, how do you see that in the context of social media and content creating?
And that kind of also parallels right to the golden rule of like treat others how you want to be treated, and right, is that what you say? So I think on those sort of lines, when I'm producing content, I want to create content that I feel very inspired and uplifted by, and it's through invoking that sort of positivity that it radiates outwards, and so that's kind of how I create my content. As a way to channel the divine and channel, that good feeling to spread it to others.
What about Len?
Yeah, I mean, as he said, you receive what you give. And whenever I start to question sort of like what I'm doing and what I'm creating, I always go back to that core theme of like, what do I want other people to create? What do I want to see? And what do I want to bring into this world that evokes those emotions, I mean, even a benevolence. And all of these sort of Confucian beliefs can be tied back into the modern age. And how do we want to portray ourselves? How do we want to give ourselves to the world? And what's the best way that we can be and experience that for ourselves?
Absolutely. What about Jackson? How do
I
you
kind
see
of agree
this
with
book?
like both of you guys said, but I want to use like MBTI as an example because MBTI is like such a trend right now.
Yeah.
For example, we always ask people, are you introverted or extroverted? Like for introverts, they will be like, it's very hard for them to just say hi. It takes a lot of courage for introverts saying hi. But while extroverts will be like, it's not a thing. But people from the internet right now, they tend to communication with people with more compassion, with more emphasis. They will understand the differences right now. So especially Gen Z, I feel like that's exactly reflect to the 己所不欲，勿施于人. Like what you don't want to do to others, don't do it to me.
Yeah.
I think that's thing we can trace back to the philosophy that Confucius raised. I think that's a good point.
That's so true. I like the point where you mentioned about like introvert extrovert, because I once read like even though we say, oh, I'm so introverted, I'm so extroverted, nobody, like everyone wants someone to listen to them and to hear them out. So you can be like, oh, I'm introverted, I don't want to talk to people, but in the end of the day we still want people to hear us. So I'm sure if you gave them like enough freedom and courage to like express themselves, even introverted people can feel extroverted and share their story. So I think that's really what the quote would be.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too that people consider that to be a box that you have to sort of label. Like this whole introvert extrovert concept is almost binds you into that because you start to identify as an introvert and an extrovert when really we are a dynamic process. We evolve, we change. I mean, I used to be an extrovert, but I feel like I've become more introverted as I've become more comfortable in my own skin. Instead of having to seek distractions, you sort of become a little bit more comfortable in being who you are. And I think that people change, and if people want to identify as an introvert or an extrovert, that's absolutely fine. But they should adapt themselves. Like Confucius would say, you can find harmony in things in nature. And water is very adaptive. And being able to meld and become sort of a changing fluid process is something that I think people would benefit a lot from. And that's something that we could learn from
great point,
Confucius.
definitely. Also about like, I feel like this generation, how we treat others, it's like lots of people do, oh, he's very, let's say he's very shy or he doesn't talk much, so I'm naturally not going to want to talk to them. I'm just going to give this project or this thought of mine to someone else who's very extroverted. But in the same time, I don't think you would wish that upon yourself. Like you would wish people to see you as how you are rather than like how, oh, maybe because she said something I didn't like or she's very shy or I'm judging her based on something else, then would you want that upon yourself? Probably no.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's a wisdom from 2,500 years ago. It comes from, let's say, Confucius, China. But for example, in the Arab culture, we have almost the exact same proverb that says, like, do not treat your brother or your neighbor the way that you don't want to be treated. So that's like two civilizations, I would say, matching in a concept that is today global.
Well, I think what we're tapping into is universal wisdom, and I think that's what Confucius did. He tapped into this wisdom that is available for everyone, and he was just a master at being able to really tap into that, and that's something that we can all learn so much about, because if we can tap into this universal language, then we can live in the most aligned ways, you know.
Definitely. JJ, based on your content online, you're very adventurous. You go to different countries. So let's say the past year, for example, how many countries have you guys been to?
Together, we've gone to, I think this is our third or fourth country together. But I've gone to maybe 5 or 6 countries.
In 1 year already?
Yeah, this is unusual.
So before planning to go to another country, what goes through, let's say, your mind? Like, do you feel like, I worry about a culture shock, I worry about it different being from my hometown? What goes through your mind? Let us know.
In terms of the process of choosing a country or
Preparation to going, yeah.
Wow, you know, so I think when it comes to actually this location, I was like, all right, we're going to China. It was a lot that went through my mind, because I've been here before, but I haven't gone to this region. And besides just like the logistical planning of it, which you guys made it very easy for us, by the way, it was really just kind of getting the mindset of like, okay, we're going to be traveling 24 hours to get here, and then once we're here, we're immersing ourselves in a completely new culture. What are we going to be eating? What kind of food? How are we going to be staying? There's a lot of things that kind of go through your mind. So I think it's a lot of mental preparation of just preparing yourself to completely dive into a whole new culture. As someone that does have like Asian lineage in me, like I guess in some ways, like I'm familiar with a little bit of the culture, just in some ways. But I think with any place that you go to, it's a lot of mental. It's more mental than anything, because when it comes to, you know, even climbing a mountain, it's physically taxing, but it's so mental.
Sounds fun. What went through your mind before coming?
Well, we have a bit of a contrasting opinion on this regard. And JJ
Oh,
can certainly.
yeah.
I'd love to hear
Let
that.
us know.
Well, I mean, JJ can certainly attest to this in a big way, in the sense that when I visit a country, even if it's a country I've never been to or a culture I've never experienced, I give very little thought beforehand. I usually, when it came to like Guatemala or Morocco or, I mean, any of the dozen countries I've been to in the last year, it has always sort of been a spur of the moment decision. And if there's a plan to go somewhere, I usually just let it be and plan, you know, I look at the weather, oh, I'll pack these clothes. But when I think about a country that I really want to go to, I let that country sort of dictate the story for itself. In terms of when I actually plan the trip, I plan for what I'll need, I plan for what events I'll be doing, if I need climbing gear, if I need my paraglider, but I don't ever really think about the culture. I prefer to experience the culture.
And I think there's some benefits of that when you're winging a trip. If you're trying to make like a raw documentary where you're just like let the wind take you where it wants to take you, that's great for that. But in terms of like, you know, what disasters could arise, that's something that I think experience shows you in the future. But I mean, I think both ways work. He does like to be surprised.
We have two very different styles right now, so
Yeah.
we will leave the question to Jackson. Which one are you more like?
I will be
when
like the
traveling?
go with flow one.
Go with flow?
That's what I'm talking
Because
about.
I'm like, I cannot do the whole itinerary. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this, do that, do that.
I'm
just
kind of like
when you
you.
do the
I need the
itinerary-
itinerary.
Don't do the itinerary.
What if
Start
he
to
gets
go.
Jackson, you
shocked
seem
or
like
like
a-
the outfit is not right?
be.
I'm
Let
very
him be.
spontaneous. I'm just, I
Look at
want to
him,
go
he's so
there. I'm just go.
spontaneous.
I don't think he seems like a very cautious person.
No, I'm not.
But when you
Okay.
start to book an itinerary, for example, it's the same thing as sort of identifying as this or that. It puts you into a box. Like,
True.
in a lot of my experiences, you can't plan for that spontaneous magic that happens when you, for example, like when I was in France, I met people the night before and decided we all want to go on a road trip to Switzerland, and ended up saving a life the next day. And it was an incredible experience that would never
Tell
have
us a bit
happened.
more about that. What?
Oh, I'll make it quick. But it was an experience where I was supposed to go and stay with a friend in France. That friend actually didn't have a place for me. I was homeless. So I slept in a field and met these 4 strangers at a hostel. And we went climbing the next day and planned a trip to Switzerland because we just liked each other. And then that next day we were on a Via Ferrata in Morin. And there was a Spanish couple that decided to do an illegal zip line. And I may have done it too. But when they did it, he broke his tibia.
Okay, my spontaneous is not like that. My spontaneous is not like that.
But you can't plan for that. You can't. And I wouldn't have been there if I had.
It
is like, yeah.
It was an amazing experience. Whether it ended in disaster or not, everyone survived. Everyone is okay, fully healed. And if I had, for example, booked something in Chamonix, or if things had gone as planned, I never would have been in that situation with people that became my family due to that experience.
Maybe it was like pre-written, like, I don't know, it's like spiritually, maybe you were supposed to be there, you know?
So he's gonna argue.
We have contrasting opinions on this.
He's gonna argue with this point.
Because I do believe that some sort of situations that maybe there is like a course of direction where you were supposed to stay somewhere and then you last minute decide to leave, like I did on one of my last trips. And then I ended up being on a plane next to this guy who gave me this prayer that has changed my life, you know, and it was because of canceling one trip that led to actually being even here.
Look at that.
So I do believe in destiny, for sure. I believe that it is written.
I believe sometimes, like, maybe you're at the right place at the right time, but also maybe you're supposed to be there. I'm not sure, but we will leave this question to the audience. Please do leave it in the comments below. What are we, a JJ style or are we a Landon style? Tell us in the comments. Are we spontaneous and let's just go, or do we need the planning? But I must say, the box thing, I think planning it is safe, but it kind of reduces the wow factor a little bit when you do see the actual thing. Like, let's say you want to see this temple. You researched too much about it. Maybe when you get there, you're like, interesting, but not as interesting as like the first look.
Right.
And I think that's why it's important to have like beat points when you're doing a trip, where it's like, okay, these are the possible locations that we're going to do, but have them researched well so that you know your possible places. He says that, but if you're going to be filming, and that's something that I will bring up, like filming and adventure are 2 different things, and it's important to really realize that, because when you are going on the adventure, it's great to wing it. But if you're going to be filming, you need to know what you're going to be filming, because that will reduce the safety, or, you know, it will increase the safety, or, yeah.
I prefer to decrease the safety.
2 quite different opinions, but that's the beauty of diversity, isn't it? As Confucius says, harmony in diversity. But I would like for you guys to say a bit more to the audience about what made you get into the field that you're in now, like content creating and adventure filming and stuff. What made you get into that?
For me, it's all about connecting to nature. When I was in college, I started an outdoors club, and I got outside and was on one of those mountains, and I just remember the feeling of being immersed in the wilderness, and coming from a family that was, you know, their version of the outdoors was suburbia. I didn't really even get to experience any of that. So when I started experiencing the outdoors firsthand, I wanted to show more people what I had just felt, because it is an incredible experience climbing one of those mountains, having the wind in your face, the sun on your skin, and just feeling almost like God is touching you up there. And so I got into media because that was a great way to share it on a larger scale. And when I first got into media, social media was just starting. And so as social media has become more prevalent in our society, it's become a better way for us to create content and get it out there, because years ago, you had to get chosen by a network to get approved. You know, it's all about getting approval to get out there. And now with technology, everyone can get out there now. Everyone can experience this. And when you can experience nature like that, I believe that experiencing nature allows you to experience more of yourself, so that you can then connect to each other, which allows us to all connect to the world. And so that is why I got into adventure filmmaking. Amazing.
Oh, that's really, and we can really tell on your pages that you're really passionate about everything that you're filming and all the adventures you've been on.
I definitely am. And having my adventure cat allows me to slow down and really take in the moment, you know, because before I got my adventure cat, it was just trying to get to the top of the mountain as fast as I could, which wasn't always safe. But my cat kind of showed me, like, you also got to be present. And that's another thing about Confucius, is that what I've learned from Confucius is that being in the journey is about being present in the journey and really enjoying that in the moment.
And soaking it all in.
Soaking it all in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Landon, tell us, how did you get into the business?
Well, I got into the business when I was actually very young. I was 15 when I first got my job in media. I guess, I don't know if that's abnormal here, but it was honestly luck. And I had always had a camera in my hand. It was usually my phone at that age. But when I first got my camera and got into the industry, I was an editor, which is sort of like, I'd say, the biggest aspect of what I do. It was only later that I became a filmmaker and videographer. For the beginning of my career, I was editing large-scale ski productions. And it was an experience that it sort of made me feel like I was entering a new world of creativity, because it let me be sort of who I wanted to be and have that outlet for that, what I wanted to express. And it became art. It became my craft, and it became my passion to hone that craft, to be able to express what I truly felt and to be able to bring what I feel into the world. And that's something that I believe every person should try to find in their life, whether it's a hobby, whether it's painting, whether it's a sport, or whether it can even be your job. Yeah, hopefully it is. But in a certain way, I believe that everyone has the right to that creative voice. And finding that creative voice and making it the center of my world was sort of the beginning and the path that I chose.
That is interesting. And I feel like lots of people who are in media or are trying to enter the field can really get inspired by the stuff that you guys just shared, you know, being in the moment and also really being passionate about it. Jackson, I know you are in media as well. Can you tell us a bit more about why you entered media?
Yeah, exactly. After hearing what they say, as a media person, I feel like we can definitely reflect back to what Confucius once said. 三人行必有我师焉 is like, among any three, I can find a teacher. Whatever they say, I feel like I can learn something new perspective from you guys. Every single day, I can learn something new. I feel like whatever you said, especially in the presence, I think at that point, it's going to be driving me to learn more about media. And also whatever you said there, it's so cool. I love that.
And I think things online right now are giving us an option of like being yourself as well. I feel like back in the day, maybe we all wanted to be very formal. Like we all wanted to be presented as a formal way. We all wanted every footage to be so beautiful and glamorous. But now lots of the moments are spontaneous. You don't know how you caught it. I mean, with your skills, of course, you're going to catch them beautifully, but like they won't be pre-planned. And I think the spontaneous of it is what is why people have moved, I think, from TV to social media.
And not just spontaneity, but also raw and vulnerability, which is something that I've been learning this year on this sacred journey that I've been going on. And it's about catching those off candid moments, but really being super authentic to the core, because that's what I have noticed that goes viral. It's those moments when my cat is like trying to take the food out of my mouth. You know, it's those moments that catch your heart. You know, that really that people see and they want to keep clicking and watching it over and over again, because those moments show the trueness of humanity, and that's something you can't rehearse.
And people from like all over the world can relate to watching, like after watching you or watching your true moment, they can relate to it, even though they never met you, they come from a whole different culture and place. So I think that's kind of the power of what we're doing and sharing content and stuff like that. All right, so cool. One of the big topics that we are discussing in recent years, which is harmony with nature, between humans and nature, between nature and how we are seeing it and protecting it in general. Landon, lots of your work are in your adventures. You really cover lots of the nature aspects, and we can really feel like nature is something important to you. Can you tell us a bit more about how nature is in your eyes?
Yeah. Well, nature is something that a lot of people say you should connect to. It's something that you should immerse yourself in. It's something that you should go and experience. But I don't really see it that way. We can't separate ourselves from nature. That's not reality. We are born in nature. We are experiencing nature. We can put a box around it, but it's still there. It's not something that's separate from us. And it's not necessarily valid to say that we need to go and be connecting with nature. Nature is always here. It's always present. You just have to remove the veils. And I think that everyone in today's society, I mean, it shocks me to hear that kids today actually spend more time in their cars than they do outside. And I think that people lose something when they forget that we are a part of this world, not just a separate sort of how do I say, like, it's like saying that your hand is separate from the rest of your body. You can't necessarily separate the two. And so I hope that through my media, which I film almost exclusively in nature, I sort of inspire people to go and come home to that feeling of being in nature and to be one with this world. And especially bringing the community of their friends and their family and to share that with others. I think that it inspires something that, I mean, as Confucius said, we should be adaptive, and we should understand that nature has a lot of lessons to teach us, and we can learn from the mountains, we can learn from the water, we can learn from everything around us. And I think that people miss a big part of what it is to live life when they live it indoors.
Definitely, and I think since you highlighted Confucius' thoughts about nature, being here in Qufu from the footage the past few days, what's the nature like here for our audience who may have not seen so much yet of Qufu?
Yeah, it's beautiful. As I said, this is my first time in China, and it's extremely incredible to see a tree that's 2,100 years old. And when I was looking at it, I thought about all the events that this tree had witnessed over those 2,100 years. It's inconceivable to really take all that in, but it puts this feeling of awe, this timelessness that is nature. You know, we are reborn, we are recycled, but it's all the same. It's all nature, and it's all beautiful. And so being here really makes you realize the timelessness of nature and the fact that we are a part of it, and we are timeless.
We are, and I think for the trees that you mentioned, they're here for like thousands of years, let's say, you really be like, wow, that's such a strong tree, and nature is so strong. But then again, it's always in some way about the people who worked on preserving it as well. So I think there are lots of people who we'd never highlight, but they have done something to make the tree stay with us 2,100 years later, so we can get to see it. So I do think nature is definitely something that younger generation right now might be wanting to get more into.
And I really love the way you said that, because it's not just like that we need to uphold nature, it's that relationship that nature upholds us and we uphold nature. And people forget that even, you know, it goes back to environmentalism and being able to understand that we have to protect this world. Like when you look at that tree, you wouldn't be able to breathe without that tree. It recycles oxygen so that we are able to inhale it. Half of our lungs are on the branches. And when people realize that, they have this connection, this symbiosis with everything around us, and that really is powerful in my eyes.
It really is. As we have seen the Confucius Temple and the Confucius Mountain right here in Qufu, there are lots of people visiting. We have guests from different countries, but also guests from all over China. Why do you think guests from all over China would still want to come to the Confucius Mountain and to the Confucius Mansion and Temple thousands of years later?
Yeah, I think one thing that highlights that, or for me as a Gen Z or people who are younger, I feel like, you know, Confucius philosophy can trace back to thousands of years ago, and it's still being practiced till now. For example, whatever the quotes and philosophy we're talking about, still being practiced, still being used nowadays, still can, you know, sort of like guide you through some difficulties that you are encountering in your life nowadays. I think that's one thing that keep people coming here to experience, to understand what Confucian philosophy is. And I think it would be better, or it would be lovely if we can translate those philosophy into so many different languages. I know you speak Arabic. If we can translate into Arabic or French, Spanish, or any other language to the people of the whole world, I think they will be the better understand the philosophy, and they will make them come to Qufu to understand, also to feel like the presence of a Confucius culture here. I think that's something I want people to understand.
Very well said. Being in Confucius Mansion and Temple, and just being here in his hometown, we can really imagine 2,500 plus years ago, he was teaching his disciples, his students, but then now everyone visiting these temples are also his students, technically. So we are still learning 2,000 plus years later, and I think that is really something magical when you think about it. One specific point I would love to highlight, which is Confucius' wisdom is dated back thousands of years ago, but he has highlighted that wisdom from back then can really be useful for the future. I'd like to address this question to JJ. I know part of your work and your documentaries, you have highlighted how previous wisdom is helping develop the future. For example, your pyramids, power plants for the future.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, you know, for a long time, I thought time was linear, and then I thought time was cyclical, and recently I've been realizing that time could actually be spiral, which we see spirals in nature all the time, and that just goes back to nature as well, is that everything that we can apply to our lives today can be a reflection of what we see in nature, and that is why nature is so important in our lives, because if we want to understand how we should live, we just need to look at the wilderness around us, and we can really feel it and see it. And I think Confucius was ahead of his time in a lot of ways, because he understood that connection with nature, which is so important to understand yourself. And so the knowledge that he was tapping into, which again goes back to what I was saying about universal language, and what Landon was saying about nature being timeless, feeling timeless, it is timeless. This is not something that is bounded by time. So when you're looking into the wisdom of thousands of years ago, that same wisdom can be applied to the wisdom of today and the wisdom of tomorrow and the thousands of years in the future, because since time is spiral, that language will apply forever and ever and ever, because there is no end and there is no beginning. And so if we want to build a world for tomorrow, we just have to look at the wisdom that these ancient philosophers like Confucius tapped into, and we can apply that into our everyday life today and tomorrow. So I think that is really what I've been seeing through my research. And as I've been researching more, it's evolving and I'm understanding it better.
Yes, definitely. And with your work, you are actually, I would say, using the wisdom of Confucius, but probably before you even knew it was like his wisdom, which is to use information from the past to like pave the way for the future. So I think that's the universal language of it.
Because it's not Confucius' language. He was a master at being able to tap into it and put it into a way that more people could understand. I think that's really what I would say about Confucius. He was really good at communicating with his disciples and with people, and being able to express what he was learning in a way that many people could understand. And I think that's what I'm trying to do with my own media, with my own films, is I'm trying I'm tapping into this knowledge that is not mine, and framing it and creating this beautiful film around it that people will be attracted to, so that they can watch it and they can absorb it, and then they can be inspired by it, which will then in turn make them be able to create their masterpieces that will then spiral outwards as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So literally, guys, how do you think wisdom from the past, like from Confucius, can be translated into today young people's language?
Well, I believe that wisdom like that, wisdom that comes from, and this is something that I actually talk about a lot with my friends and with my, even in school, is there's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. And I believe that knowledge grows as humanity grows. You know, we have strong shoulders to step on from the last generation, and we build up our understanding of how this world works and how we understand physics, and even like how we interact with the world. However, wisdom, I don't think wisdom generates the same sort of linear evolution. I believe that wisdom is being able to act and understand the knowledge that you have. People can have an understanding of nature, but it's not the same as experiencing nature. It's not the same as connecting with nature. And that's sort of what I believe wisdom is. It's that experiential knowledge, something that you feel in your bones. And so I think that the same wisdom that Confucius experienced is the same wisdom that we can experience. We have to be a part of the world, you know, look it in the eyes and be able to stride forward and meet every day with the same energy that he did. Because I think that wisdom is timeless. Knowledge might grow, but wisdom, I believe, is something that can be cultivated in any age the same.
It is. It comes sometimes as a shock to me when something is happening and then I see either old philosopher said it or quoted it from I don't know how many hundreds of years ago. I'm like, how did they know?
Seriously?
Like, how do you know this is going on right now in 2025? Like, in my head, I was like, I'd never imagine people back then to have any idea of like what's going on now. But the truth is, wisdom from the past can pave the way for the future. And I think that's wonderful. Jackson, as a Gen Z yourself, how do you feel like Chinese Confucius wisdom can be passed on to the younger generation?
That's very spiritual, I would say that. I will give you guys some very practical stuff, artificial intelligence. Because like I mentioned before, like always Confucian's philosophy is always Chinese. I would love to see all of this language using AI to combine with AI to translate into or translate and organize into so many different languages so people or young people, especially Gen Z, could understand what the Confucian philosophy would teach them. So they will learn from it, they will solve their problem in their real life and be the presence of Confucius in their own language, which is gonna be good. I would love to see Confucius philosophy being translated into French, Spanish, or Arabic, or Japanese, or any other language that people could easily understand what Confucius is.
Speaking of AI Confucius, Jackson highlighted a wonderful new link, which is actually part of our CGTN platform right now, which is our AI Confucius, which last year we can just talk to it in English and Chinese, but this year we have developed Arabic, English, French, Spanish, Russian, Korean, and Japanese. So there are many different languages. If you guys can tune into our app and check out the CGTN's AI Confucius, I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful conversation in your language and see what wisdom he could share. And if the translation is correct or not, you can also leave us a comment and feedback so we can keep developing the AI. All right, so Landon, you did mention about nature. I would love for you to tell the younger audience watching, do you feel like we are going out, are we doing enough in nature, or do you feel like everyone is still in a car, in a box, in their room? So from a nature, can I say guru? No. From a professional nature enthusiast.
Guru's fine.
Guru's fine. What would you give an advice for the younger generation who is not out right now?
Well, yeah, I think that it's, as I said before, it's so difficult to imagine that anybody is spending more time in their car than they are outside. That's just, people 100 years ago couldn't believe that. I mean, cars weren't really a thing last year, or 100 years ago. But in the same sense, people don't spend enough time outside. I'll just put that as a blanket statement. It's a fact that spending time outside has transformed me. It was honestly like the person I am right now, who I identify as, like what this character is, was formed in nature. And it came through experiences of hardship and of adventure and facing the challenges that nature provides and becoming melded by those experiences and learning, being able to overcome all of those. You don't necessarily learn to be spontaneous. At least I didn't until I was in nature, and I realized that you have to adapt to the moment because you can't plan for everything. And so if I was to give any advice to young people out there today, I'd say that you should get outside and understand that you're missing out if you don't experience nature, and especially if you don't experience the community that you have around you. And people don't necessarily understand this, but I think that nature is a part of that community. So go outside.
Go outside.
Go outside, and there's really so much to see. Like, there's so much of nature we really haven't even tapped into. So I think the more we explore and the more we see probably your videos and your adventures, we'll get a glimpse before we go experience it ourselves. I know that since the wisdom that we have covered from Confucius and from the works that you guys have been doing, tell us about the future plans.
Ooh, okay, future plans. Well, yeah, going back to what you mentioned about ancient tomorrow, being about power plants, pyramid power plants. We have some ideas about a lot of different mountains we want to climb relating to maybe a sequel to Ancient Tomorrow 2, where we continue on the journey of trying to figure out if these pyramids very much were power plants, or if there is some sort of energy network grid that is, circumnavigating the planet as we speak. So that's one project we're working on, and another project is climbing various mountains around the world that have some sort of significance to our ancient ancestors. We'll see.
Come to China.
That'll be fun, right?
Come to China to climb all the mountains here in China.
You
should.
Yeah,
You should.
there are
Seriously.
definitely plans of that.
Let's please plan it, and then we will continue another live stream on the mountains, maybe. Keep your imagination open. What do you guys think? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be
That
cool.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll bring all the cameras up there, all the lights.
No, the entire team on the mountains while we
Exactly,
do the
yeah.
live. We should Comment if you want to see that, because I'm really down to go to the mountains.
Are you going to climb with us?
I'll probably change
With
an
high
attire, but I would want to
And
climb
Jackson,
with
you too?
Let's
I'll be like,
let's keep it for the audience. If you want to see that episode, please do comment it below, because I want to go. Come on, an episode on a mountain, that would be epic. That would
Make
be
it
really
happen.
fun.
Oh,
All right, so
yeah.
back to our Confucius topic. Thank you for that. All right, so back to our Confucius topic. Confucius always highlighted the phrase of there is harmony in diversity. We are living in a world right now in 2025 where there are so much voices, so many different opinions going, and the fact that before you can only share your opinion maybe face to face or to the other person next to you, we are living in a generation where any thought that pops in your mind, you can put it in a comment. Any emotion you have, you can put it in a post. So with this world right now, the internet is the most diverse platform we can ever see. We have people relating with your content from different parts of the world, but there's also people who may not agree with you, who have different opinions on stuff. How do you think Confucius would feel about 2025, the diversity, through the quote that he said? I'll start with Jackson.
wow, that was very, very difficult question to answer. Because I feel like, all of these differences like right now happening, it was kind of crazy. But I feel like Gen Z right now, they tend to communicate in people with more understanding. They will understand each other. For example, if I don't agree with you, for example, the question you ask me, I probably don't understand, or probably I don't want to answer, or I don't agree with your point of view, but it doesn't mean like, I feel like agree with disagree. I will okay with your question, but sometimes I see the point of view, you might don't agree with it. I think that's a way, I think.
It is, I think. There's beauty in diversity, but the thing is how much control you can have over yourself and stuff like that when sharing the opinion. Speaking of diversity in content creating, how do you feel like diversity is an important aspect?
Well, if we look at nature as our example, because I always like to look at nature as everything to explain the world around me. Nature itself is just diversity all around. I mean, if you were to like look at a tree, you'll see that every leaf has some sort of imperfection about it, but that's what makes it so beautiful. And when we're creating our buildings and creating our cities, we are modeling it after nature. And I think that the diversity of nature makes it so magnificent and so beautiful. And if everyone looked exactly the same, it would just be no contrast, so boring. And who wants boring? Like, who wants to go to a buffet that has exactly every dish is the same? I sure wouldn't. I want to have. That's why I love buffets, because there's so many different dishes, and I want to eat everything. So I'm someone who loves diversity because I want to have that contrast in life, and that's what makes life so beautiful and so rich. And so when we're creating content out there, if everyone was creating the exact same content, well, it's like watching TV and every channel's the same. Who wants to do that, right? So I think it's so important that we have all these different voices. Now, some voices maybe are louder than others, and it's important, like going back to our golden rule, going back to how we want to be treated, it's important to put content out there that's inspiring, not suffocating. But I think diversity is imperative if you want to expand in life.
Definitely. There is harmony in diversity. Landon, how do you see this line?
I agree with JJ in the respect that we definitely do have to experience everything of life if we want to experience the richness or everything that we want to experience in life. I'd say that if you sort of try to have like this narrow line and try to stay balanced, I think a lot of my friends and a lot of people say that they won't do this, they won't do that because that's unsafe or that's too much or that's just not necessarily a normal way of living. I feel like they miss out on so much, and I think that it's this range of experiences that we can have that creates the harmony of wisdom and understanding within us. You can't necessarily have harmony within a country if you don't understand and hear all of its people. And just like Confucius says, there is harmony in diversity, and I think that that's really a good analogy for me on how life should be lived. I don't think that life should be lived in your hometown. I don't think that you should stay indoors. I don't think that you should have, even though it's really hot here, I don't think that you should have AC all the time and have one temperature. You should experience Antarctica. You should experience the desert. You should experience the jungle. You should experience everything. And I think in this one life that we have, and especially online, you see this all the time. You see people going to these far places. You see people experiencing all these things and sharing them. and the same with differing opinions. And some of them you might not want to engage with, some of them are negative, but it's difficult to denounce any of it because it relates to somebody in a way that's important. I think that every voice has their right to be heard.
Definitely. No, that's beautiful, beautiful aspects you guys shared. I think also beauty, harmony in diversity, or as how I would like to see it as beauty in diversity. I think we live in a globe that's actually like a united family, actually. Whatever you're going through in, let's say, Colorado, someone maybe in Africa is going through the same thing. An emotion that you're having right now in Nishan, someone in the Middle East might be feeling the same thing. So I think in the end of the day, we are all connected. But once we learn to coexist with each other and with our ideas, I think that's the harmony that Confucius would want.
I actually totally agree because, and this is even something that Confucius experienced, because while society has changed so much in the last 2,500 years, the human experience hasn't. The emotions that we experience haven't. It's all relatable. You know, just because a different experience is happening for somebody, like different events, you know, like they might have lost their job or they might have just broken up with their ex or something like this in America, that experience and that pain or that sorrow is the same as someone in China. It's the same emotions that we experience. So being able to share that, it connects us.
I think so. And I think once we understand that, it makes the barrier between two people much less. I feel like once you feel like our experiences may be different, but at some point they're connected, I think that's what makes people closer and closer with each other. All right, so to our lovely audience, please leave a comment of your favorite quote from Confucius from the NLX. We'd love to see them shared. And to wrap up our lovely episode in our journey, if I were to ask each of you, what would you take back from this journey? You can have a moment to think about it as a whole. What would you take back after this trip?
Well, I think it goes back to what Landon was saying about wisdom and the timelessness of wisdom, and adding on that is that inner knowing and trusting your inner knowing and trusting that wisdom within. And I think, you know, I think in a lot of ways I was brought here, not maybe by Confucius, I don't know, you know, channeling his spirit. But I think by being here in presence, it is a totally different experience than reading it in the text. Because if you really want to experience anything, and that's why it's important to go out there in nature, because it's one thing to see nature on TV. It's one thing to read Confucian text in a book, but it's another thing to be here in the flesh, experience it in real time. And if I've learned anything, it's that being here, I feel transformed.
That's beautiful. What about London?
I'd like to bring back the food.
Yes.
But I really do feel the same as JJ. It's amazing to be here, and especially to see how the Chinese culture is impacted by Confucius. That's something that we don't experience a lot in the US. Is I don't really know if there's a single person that's had such an impact on our culture as Confucius has on Chinese civilization and society. And so it's amazing to see how it unites the Chinese people, and hopefully we can sort of find some through lines in the US that unite us in the same way.
Hopefully that would be beautiful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Jackson, as a take back from
I
this trip?
love those, cross-culture conversation that we had. I think one thing that I would bring back is everything that I learned from you guys. Because you guys are from a different country, come all the way to China, and I hope you guys learn the Chinese culture that you guys, is different from probably than you thought, or what you see on the media. I feel like the knowledge that I learned from JJ, from like Landon, is absolutely amazing. And I think it's also highlight to the one that we're talking about. Like among other three, I can find a teacher, and both of you guys are my teacher. I think that's something that I will bring back, and I will forever memory. Yeah.
A little conversation between all of us, and how many Confucius quotes have been used
so
or
many.
highlighted, like without even feeling it. It was also, that is, I think, the beauty of Confucianism, and hopefully you guys enjoyed our episode. Right now, we are going to exit and probably go with Landon to get some good food.
Oh yeah.
So stay tuned for future episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Hype. We are saying goodbye to you in the heart of Nishan. See you next time.
Bye.